Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. F-Dash here with F-Dash TV. Now, you may have booted up your game tonight here to find this screen that says, hey, a new version is available. Please update now. And you may be asking yourself, well, what is in this update? Well, that's a great question. Let's read the patch notes. And let me tell you, whew, it's a different game now, people. All right, so this is Hero Update Season 1, Week 3. Now, there's a lot to go over here, right? A lot. So let's just start at the beginning here. Balance philosophy. So in order to create a stable environment, our goal is to balance patches. Our goal for balance patches, is to be infrequent and focused on buffs to underperforming characters, Splinter, rather than nerfs to the strongest characters. However, right now the game is brand new and we're learning, and what we're learning at this time is that basically it's clear that there are some large balance problems. The best option for the long-term health of the game is to make large changes quickly until we have reached a better foundation and then settle into a slower release pattern for the long term. So basically they're saying that right now they're going to be doing this patch here, this nerf basically is what it is. It's not really what they want to do in the future. They'd rather buff underperforming characters like Splinter rather than nerf really good characters like Leatherhead and Baxter. However, what we're getting this batch is a nerf to really good characters like Leatherhead and Baxter. So here's the balance concerns for the current game is that the tank role is tanking really well, more than they had expected it to, and that the strategy of using control effects, aka stun locking, we're looking at you, Baxter, is a little too effective. And basically AoE damage is also a little too effective. So, basically when you combine tanks with stun locking and AoEs, you can get really far in PvE, in the adventure, because that's kind of broken. And honestly it was really broken. Like there are people out there beating the PvE stages when they had like seriously 20-30k less team power because of how broken it was. So essentially all three of those are going to get nerfed. Well, not gonna, they are nerfed now. So skipping a little bit, we considered if there was a way to fix these issues without a widespread nerf to tanks, but that route was not feasible. If we increase the damage of non-tanks enough to give people a reason to run them, then the meta would become even faster. We could respond to that by increasing the survivability of everyone, but also that's just not really feasible. In regards to stun locking, we considered the option of simply nerfing the duration and frequency of available control effects, but decided that other options were a little bit better to try first, and those ended up being outside the scope of this patch, so they're probably going to come in a future patch. And as far as AoE, we believe that the issue is confounded somewhat by the fact that tanks are so tanky. But right now what they're going to be doing is reducing overall AoE damage for non-blaster characters, and then they're going to see how that goes. So, based on all of that, what this patch has is significantly reduced the damage output of tanks, especially if they had AoE. It's moderately decreased AoE of non-blaster primaries, and it increased slightly the survivability of non-tanks, right? So I made non-tanks a little bit better, made tanks a little bit worse, especially if they had an AoE, and AoEs in general, especially for non-blaster primaries, were also decreased. So these role changes have benchmarks for their basic stats and access to skill mechanics, although individual heroes can deviate from them somewhat. So based on the above objectives, they have made some high-level adjustments. So they created new, higher health benchmarks for melee heroes and roles which are not melee, like Splinter and Donatello. Reduced the skill damage of tanks, especially those with AoE damage. Reduced the health of top-tier tanks, like Raphael and Toka. Increased the health, defense, cap, and generation of skirmishers. Increased the attack range of most ranged heroes to 3 to match their to match their blaster primary heroes like Super Irma. The exceptions are ranged tanks such as Rocksteady and Trag. and Napoleon. So some hero changes, and there's a lot of hero changes here. Basically, the focus for this patch was on heroes that you can get in the early game, either as 2-star or bonus, not bonus, but bosses in early acts. As well as balance, the goal for these heroes was to make sure that all skill unlocks up to level 75 were immediately relevant in early game environments. They're looking at the later game heroes for future balance patches. This is crazy. All right, so let's just hop right into the hero changes here. So here's Leonardo. So Leonardo's a little bit better. So his whirlwind strike, can't talk. His whirlwind strike. His level 1 move the effect from level 2. He gains 300 armor for 2 seconds. Makes him a little tankier there. Gain 50% resistance to stun, root, and slow for 4 seconds. His rallying charge reduced the number of hits by 1 to better line up with the animation. The total damage remains the same. And fixed an issue which could cause Leo's attack to be split between multiple targets. We don't want that, right? His health did decrease. However, his defensive cap increased. I actually can't tell if he got better or worse. Like, I don't know. As for Raphael here, the battle trance fixed an issue where this skill had no effect at all. His Psy Rush added a minimum range of 2, reduced the maximum range from 5 to 4. The damage now only half, so 15. But he does gain 30 defense. At his level 2, it 15 extra damage, and he does inflict disarm and slow for 1 second to targets in range 1. And then his level 3, unfortunately they reduced the effect, deals 0.3 extra damage per alertness, is now deals 0.15. So again, half extra damage per alertness. And his parry no longer gives defense while Raph is stunned. His health did increase due to the decrease mainly there of his Psy Rush damage. Donnie, my boy here, his bow smash does gain 20 defense. Yay! Now his Omni gadget, they reduce the damage half again from 30 to 15. And he does inflict negative 20 armor for 10 seconds. That used to be his level 3, now it's at his level 1. And now for his level 3, they increase the minus the negative armor and or barrier targets over 30 for respective status. As you can see, his defense cap and his health both increased. Yay. Yeah, my boy Donnie. Mikey! Oh, Mikey. So his damage for his Mike NATO was reduced from 65 to 45. The inflict stun for 1 second to the first and last stages of the hit. And inflict stun, they added 0.5 seconds to each target. Now his level 2, they removed the 0.65 extra damage per haste and inflict stun for 1 second. They added 0.2 extra damage per haste and inflict stun for half a second additionally to targets. Cowabunga damage was reduced by half from 20 to 10, but he now does gain 25 defense. Rapid reflexes, they removed the gain of 30 haste and instead added gain 3 defense if he's not rooted or slowed. At his level 2, they removed gain 0.5 armor and instead added gain plus 12 haste and alertness for each enemy that's at range 1. Increase of health, increase of his defense cap, and increase his damage from 6 to 8. Oh, Splinter. Is Splinter garbage? This is the real question everybody wants to know. Look at all these things that happen to him. So Splinter, to his intervene, he now gains 30% stun. I'm sorry, he gives 30% stun and silence for 12 seconds. His ninja teachings can no longer target self. That's always great. You don't want to do that to yourself. While on auto, targets the closest ally. Gives 30 defense and gives 30 plus 30 alertness. To his level 3, they obviously removed the 30 defense because now you gain it at level 1. But they did add gain extra 30 plus extra strength, haste, and or alertness to targets under 0 for each one. His Ninja Master now at the start of combat gives 10 strength and alertness for 30 seconds to all allies. That's actually amazing. It removed the plus 25 haste for 4 seconds and instead added plus 10 haste for 30 seconds. His unyielding spirit no longer after being attacked gives 2 defense to other allies if or at above 0 will. Instead, now after being attacked, it will give 2 defense to other allies if they're not stunned or slammed. So yes, Splinter got buffed through the roof. Alright, so if you have Splinter, and I think every single character, or every single person who's playing this game does, he's been buffed. So definitely start leveling up your Splinter because he's no longer trash. At least on paper. At least on paper. Shredder was of course nerfed. Level 2 Shred. It's half negative. Minus 40 is what it used to be. Now it's minus 20 for 5 seconds, minus 20 armor. His level 3 removed the inflict disarm for 1 extra second. Instead, it inflicts minus 20 extra damage. Oh god. At minus 20 extra armor to targets over 20 armor. April looks like she got buffed, I guess, right? Her attack range is now gone from 2 to 3, so that's good, I guess. Krang, for those of you who have Krang, they changed the targeting. Now it added a minimum range of 2, and they also fixed the visual issue there for both his Rocket Fist and his Visor Beam. And then the Visor Beam changed the targeting. It has to have a minimum range of 1. Rocksteady. So it changed his targeting of his Rhino Charge. Now it needs a minimum of 2. And his Rhino Ruffian, after attacking, gives him plus 2 defense. His health did go up by 10 from 220 to 230. Bebop. Check out Bebop. Alright, so Bebop was nerfed from 40 to 30 damage. His Warthog Wham. His They Go Boom targeting has added a minimum range of 1. His damage, wow, from 40 to 25. But it did add an extra effect. He deals 15 extra damage to the target at the center of the area. And then at level 2, they removed the 15 physical damage. Instead, they added 10 extra damage to targets at 0 defense. Bullying Beating. So they removed his deal extra damage to targets under 0. Instead, he gains plus 10 strength. And when attacking, he deals 3 extra damage if or at above 0 strength. And lastly, Overpower. After being attacked, he gains 2 defense if he's at or above 0 strength. And his health was increased from 230 to 250. Casey. People still use Casey? Hole in 2. He now gains 100 armor for 2 seconds. And his Lawbreakers, they removed plus 10 haste if you were an enemy at range 2, and instead now he gains plus 20 armor for each enemy at range 1. His health increased, his defense cap increased, and his attack range increased. Casey Jones, my friends, was buffed. So you may want to start re-leveling Casey Jones if you left him behind like the rest of us did. Oh, my boy Baxter, I don't even want to read it, I'm so sad. So Baxter's Fly Swarm. They reduced the damage from 30 to 20, still over 6 seconds. But now it does inflict minus 20 strength for those 6 seconds. It also, at level 2, removed the minus 40 strength, and instead now it will inflict 10 extra damage over 6 seconds, and minus 20 extra strength if you're stunned, rooted, or slowed. Enemy Rope Gun was reduced from 40 to 30 damage. In its field research, they removed the effect that after an enemy uses a skill, he gained 5 focus for 30 seconds if the user is above 20 focus or will. And instead, now he'll gain 20 alertness if he's not stunned. And after an enemy uses a skill, he'll gain 2 defense and 2 focus for 30 seconds if his alertness is at or equal to, or actually equal to or above 10. And at level 2, they removed his plus 5 focus, and instead he'll gain 3 extra defense plus 3 extra focus for 30 seconds if the user is above 20. So, yeah, unfortunately he was nerfed as well because he was broken. So, Irma, her anti-magnet beam now has a minimum range of 1, and her metal manipulation, they moved the effect from level 2, so now she does minus 0.3 haste, negative 0.3 haste to all enemies per armor they have, and she also gains plus 5 armor for each hero at range 2, plus 5 extra armor for each other hero at or above 10 armor at range 2. And her health was actually decreased from 350 to 300, so she was a little too tanky. Toga! They reduced his damage. He was doing too much damn damage for a tank. Razor just had a visual fix, who cares? Dreg has his attack range increased from 2 to 3. Napoleon, his health was increased, his defense cap was increased. Genghis's health as a tank was too high, so they reduced that. Leatherhead. Instead of being a tank trickster, he's now a trickster tank. Huge difference, right? I have no idea. But he's no longer that tanky. Look, he went from 300 to 260. That might be one of the biggest health nerfs so far. That's pretty crazy. No changes to his abilities, though. Mondo, his health went up, his defense went up. Mona Lisa's range went up. Oh, my boy Slash, they ruined my entire team. So his Steel Typhoon now needs a minimum range of 2. Oh god, look at the damage of that. From 30 to 10. However, he will deal 20 extra damage to targets at range 1. And his level 3 now only does 10 extra damage to targets at 0 defense. Furious Retribution. Basically remove that first effect, and now after being attacked he gains +4 strength for 4 seconds if he's not stunned or rooted. And his level 2, after being attacked, he gains 1 strength for 30 seconds if again not stunned or rooted. Karai, who has Karai? They increased, is that Karai's health or defense cap, or is that for Slash? I'm not sure. I think that's Karai. So Karai's defense cap went up to 75, and her cut through had its targeting change, now needs a minimum of 2. Lotus has more health. Dementor has more health and defense. And finally, Anthrax has more defense. So, if you were using the team that I was, switch of Slash, Leatherhead, although Leatherhead's fine. Toga has been nerfed. Slash was nerfed. Baxter was nerfed. Casey was buffed. Bebop was nerfed. Rocksteady, Rocksteady might be kind of the same. Krang looks basically the same. April's the same. Shredder was nerfed. Splinter was buffed. Mikey was kind of nerfed, but also he kind of gave him some other things. But, I mean, I'll count it as a nerf, but still. Mikey. Donnie was nerfed. They gave him a couple things. Raph was nerfed, right? Yeah. Kind of, sort of, yeah. And then Leo was kind of buffed, but also kind of not. I went into it, and I'm at Krang right now, somewhere in 13, and before this patch, I was like pixel points away from beating that level, and I just tried it after the nerf, and whew, my team is trash. So yeah, dude, that's what happened. So that's what the new update has. Basically, again, tanks, AoEs, stun locking was nerfed. But now we get to try Splinter, and hopefully he's actually really good. I mean, on paper, he looks great, so I'm definitely going to start leveling him up, because my team can no longer compete because of these changes. Sadness, sadness, sadness. But yeah, so those are the patch notes. Ooh, there's a lot of good stuff here. If you need to check these out, if you want to read them yourself, I'll drop the link in the description. Let me know too what kind of effect this has on your team, and is this you still gonna play, or you you don't want to do this anymore? Let me know in the comments. All right, hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys next time on effdash TV. Take it easy.